Like a heartbeat strong, circuit buzzing, this is where you belong. In a digital realm, we can do no wrong.
Hey guys, welcome back to another Big Dogs podcast. Today we are going to be doing something a little more interesting, and that is going to be a podcast interview with longest solo ever. So, shall we
Hello.
get started?
Hey, I'm longest solo ever, Dean DeMarzo. I'm a musician, voice actor, YouTuber, music producer, all kinds of things. Um, I write nerdcore music about video games, TV shows, movies, and I've also I'm a voice actor in a game called Don't Fret, which I think you've had some other developers and I think art director was Krim on here too.
Krim was
Um,
on here, yes.
yeah. So I'm also in the cast of that. I play the father, and I'm also producing an analog horror series called The Genesis Index.
Interesting. Okay. Hopefully that's going to go well for you.
Thank you.
Actually, why don't we just dive into the topic of, I guess, Don't Fret, since that's going to be tied in with this anyway. When Rocket brought up the idea of, hey, I want to make a indie horror game, Don't Fret, what was your, first impression on that?
So I I have always wanted to be a part of something like that. I've always wanted to be a part of a video game in some capacity. Either I thought I was going to be a composer or even game developer growing up. I've always enjoyed, doing funny voices and stuff. And so when Rocket approached me to voice act, a major character in this game, I immediately jumped on it. I was super super psyched. Yeah, no question.
Did you kind of, imagine yourself being, the father or playing the character as the father of Don't Fret? Or were you thinking of voice acting another character in the game?
uh, I didn't know anything about the game when they brought it to me. I mean, it was before they had even announced anything. Um, or I guess they had mentioned a little bit that they were working on the game, but it was early in things. I wasn't familiar with the story or anything, but with the type of songs I put out, with the type of videos I make, I was very happy to be playing the villain. I really enjoy, really over the top, campy villains. Um, not that the father is like super silly or anything. He's very like menacing and truly awful, but he is. I do get to be a little ridiculous and shouty with him, and really have fun in the booth with his voice. So I was very happy to be cast as the villain in that kind of game.
Fuck yeah, concrete! Fred, I know what we're gonna do today.
I'm going to shit yourself! Tax evasion! Fred, I'm respecting your privacy by knocking, but asserting my authority as your parent by coming in anyway! Fire extinguisher! Oh yeah!
I mean, the last question that I have, at least when it comes to Don't Fret, is did you want to end up playing the villain in the game, or did you want to play like a good character?
No, I cannot imagine playing a good character.
Okay,
This voice is made for villains.
okay.
It wouldn't be like, I'm Fred. I'm so nervous about being in this school right now. Like that. That's what doesn't work.
Yeah, okay. I can now imagine that.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a me, Mario.
Oh my. When it comes to content creators like myself and a few others that don't really come to mind, uh, what is your opinion on us doing reactions to your songs?
Yeah, I mean, I have a whole reaction channel myself. I haven't uploaded there in like a year, but I do have one. Uh,
Are you sure?
theoretically, I'm pretty sure. So I love reactions. I mean, as long as I'm of the opinion that any spreading of my music and content is good publicity. Um, I do love it when people do more than just like sit in the corner and go, "Yeah, nice." Mm. You know, like
Yeah.
I love seeing some analysis in things. What It Do, Dave is one of my favorite.
What are your current top favorite artists and or songs?
Ooh, I am, uh, man, I'm so bad at listening to or thinking about music outside the scope of like what I'm currently working on. So like right now I'm working on a Gaslight District song, and the inspiration for that is very it's really just Gorillaz. Just Gorillaz, Clint Eastwood on Melancholy Hill, Feel Good Inc. So I'm just like blasting Gorillaz over and over again while I get in the vibe for that song. Um, in general, I'm into a lot of different EDM and pop, metal, all of these things. On the metal side, Spirit Box, Periphery, Animals as Leaders. I just caught their latest tour. It was an anniversary of one of my favorite albums. They played it front to back. The most incredible guitar playing I've ever seen in my life. Um, on the pop side, I mean, I love everything that's going on in like mainstream pop is generally pretty solid, but especially your biggest names, Bruno Mars, Dua Lipa is consistently just incredibly well written pop tracks. And then on the EDM side, I love like really heavy electro house stuff. Really intense sound design, Virtual Riot. I'm just getting into Mega Nico, who did a track for Ultra Kill, which is how I got into them. Yeah, I'm all over the place. Anything heavy and loud and really catchy.
Kind of sounds like you. When it comes to your channel logo, what's the meaning behind all of that? Or yeah,
Uh, it's it's a guitar pick, and I play guitar, and it's an L because my name starts with it. Because my username starts. No, I don't know.
okay,
It wasn't there wasn't as much thought put into it as you would think. I was like 18. Uh
okay.
I think the logo was always a guitar pick, but originally it had like just like block letters like LSE, and then I rebranded slightly and did the cursive L, um, and it looks nice. It's from a font called Grapholita Script, and it's just the capital L from that, and I put that on a pic that I drew, and uh, and that's it. And I still have the like Adobe Illustrator file from like 2011 that I still open up now and then when I need like the original vector graphic.
A friend of mine told me that you were colorblind as well. Do you want to get into that a little bit, or do you just want to avoid the question?
I don't care. I mean, yeah, uh, I'm red green colorblind would be the common terminology. Um, very heavily. I have protanopia, is the technical term for a deficiency in red cones, and basically what that means is, and that's ironic because red is my brand color. I know.
Yeah.
Um, but basically what it means is I cannot distinguish between colors that are separated by how much red they have in them. So, for example, if you think about how colors are made in terms of additive light principles, like yellow is just red light plus green light, creates yellow light. Um, and because the only thing separating yellow from green then is whether there's red light in it, I cannot tell those two colors apart, yellow and green. Same goes for blue and purple. Only thing separating those is red light. Uh, And this led to an interesting moment a couple years ago when I found out on stream what cyan is,
Oh boy.
because cyan, I literally just, I'd heard it was a color and I figured like, oh, it's like blue, right? Or teal. Um, and I still don't know what teal is. But either way, I think I'm talking about teal, not cyan. Either way, um, I don't even know if they're the same thing. But either way, it's the color that you get when you add blue and green. And because when you add blue and green and red together, you get white, that means white and this other color, either cyan or teal, um, the only difference between them is how much red is in them. It just looks white to me. So for literally 30 years, I just thought if you look at a color wheel, like you have, red, yellow, green, and then it gets to this color, and then back around to blue, purple, red. I just thought it got white in one part of the color wheel, and I never really questioned it. And then like an artist pointed it out to me one time, like, "Hey, that's like not white, right?"
Some color blindness that you have. How did that affect you, I guess, in your everyday life?
It generally doesn't, and when it comes up, it's like, "Oh, haha, right, of course." Um, it's the kind of thing that only comes up in like very specific situations. But I did have one really viral tweet come up that was there's this game called Hues and Cues, which is literally a giant board of slightly differently colored squares arranged in like a giant color spectrum. And the purpose of the game is to like you pick a color and then you describe that color to other people using only like context words. So if you draw the card that gives you the coordinates of like, this specific orange, you would say like tangerine or something, or sunset. And the other people have to then guess which color you're talking about. So anyway, my wife bought this game and we played it at her grandma's house. And she took this photo of me looking very sad in front of a game full of just how to identify colors. And that got like something like 60,000 likes or something on Twitter last year. So
Wow.
that was fun.
Ouch. When it comes to music, who is your musical influence?
Um, this is like such a stupid answer, but literally everything. Like I make a really big point of trying to communicate to my audience where the influences come from for each song, and they like could not be more random a lot of the time. So like just looking through my latest songs, uh last couple weeks, the Ultra Kill song I did, Made to Hate You, that's
Yeah.
pulling from um Electric Callboy, which is like a comedy metal, hardcore band. They do like really sick metalcore with EDM influence in there, and the songs are just hilarious. But then it's also pulling from Ghost, the band, and there was a third element in there. Oh, Carpenter Brute was like the last piece of the puzzle. I was racking my brain trying to nail down the vibe of the song, and then I went on a jog, played some Carpenter Brute, which is like really heavy synthwave, 80s. It just sounds like an explosion in 1987, and that was the last piece of the puzzle. I was like, oh, that's where this is coming from. And now my new track for Gaslight District is going to be Gorillas. Um, Order Up was like uh, Bruno Mars and just like pop music. Open the Door comes from like French house, Daft Punk, Sebastian, um, really funky uh, French EDM music. So it's always pulling from everywhere, and like I just always want to, the ADHD comes into it of just always want to explore something new sound wise and process wise for me, and make something that really feels right for whatever I'm writing for. So watching this new Gaslight District episode that dropped last week, I went into it expecting kind of like a frontiersy vibe, acoustic guitars, that kind of thing. And then that first car chase scene where they're just like blasting this sick beat, I'm like, oh, this is like 2003 Toonami. This is Gorillaz. And then I realized, of course, oh yeah, the main character is literally named Melancholy Hill after a Gorillaz song. So that makes sense that that's where that's pulling from. I'm always pulling from everywhere. I have a incredibly wide range of music that I've listened to over the years. I've been in cover bands and done a lot of Broadway shows, and you pick up just a lot of music that you may not have listened to otherwise in that way. And so I'm pulling from so many places.
So, what instruments do you play?
I play uh, guitar is like what I would consider my main instrument. But I've actually been playing drums the longest. Been playing drums since I was like 10 years old. So 14 years now. No, no, 24 years now. Oh my God. Right. Okay. Um, so yeah, drums, guitar, bass, piano, um, in terms of the main ones I play, and I sing. Um, I can technically like get sounds out of a flute, a saxophone, uh, ocarina. I just bought. I'm having fun with that, and then like other guitar-shaped instruments like banjo, dobro, um, mandolin, ukulele, that kind of thing.
I guess this can be tied into that question, I guess. Do you have like any formal training, either when it comes to instruments or like schooling, stuff like that?
Yeah, so I was taking guitar lessons from age of 12 to end of college. So I took about 10 years of guitar lessons from a whole bunch of different teachers, from like total metalheads to like the guitarist of the Brubeck Brothers like jazz quartet, um, and everybody in between. And then I also took some classical piano lessons in college. I did major in music. I went to the College of St. Rose, which does not exist anymore. It closed last year, and that's a bummer. Um, but I went to St. Rose, majored in music industry was the name of the major, which was a kind of combination of performance. So I had to like perform in front of my peers every semester, um, music theory and like education, ear training, um, composition, and then also the business side. So and technology. So recording, production, audio engineering, arranging music, but also music law, marketing, artist management. Um, really like 360 kind of view of things. And it had its like shortcomings educationally, but it did give me a lot of the tools that I use today. Like I'm really glad I know how music licensing works because I've had songs licensed by TV shows and commercials and stuff, and being able to make sure I'm getting paid properly for that is nice. Um, and then, yeah, I do have like full formal music theory training, so I'm applying that in every song I make. It's why a lot of the time I'm able to, I don't want to say like flex more complicated music theory stuff, but like Everlasting Fun, my Canito Pet song is in like three different keys throughout it and seamlessly kind of moves between them in ways that are really satisfying to me. Um and then you got like Open the Door, which is literally one note the entire song. So but having music theory as a tool behind that is always nice to have when I want to whip that out. And then I took voice lessons for a couple years recently. In my 30s, I was just like, I would really like to. I feel like there's more I could be doing. I couldn't sing above like kind of this range I'm talking in right now. And if you've listened to my music, you know I go like a mile above that. And taking lessons with, I took a course from Chris Lipe on YouTube, Liepe. His YouTube channel is incredible for vocal education. And then he set me up with private lessons with Lucas Magyar, who's the vocalist of the band Veil of Maya, who's like one of my favorite metal bands. So being able to take lessons on metal singing with one of my favorite metal singers was incredible. And that's when you hear my voice range like jump like an octave in like 2020, 2021. There was a huge change in what I could do vocally. And yeah, I'm really happy with that.
I guess with something that you brought up, how is Open the Door just like one note? Or I believe that's one note on what you said, right?
Yeah, I was exaggerating slightly. It is for the most part two notes.
Yeah.
And it gets to the core of something that's really cool about music, which is that all of it basically boils down to tension and release. To a place that feels like home when you're listening there, and then a place that doesn't. And going back and forth between those two places, with like the right amount of energy between them is what makes music satisfying to listen to. So you take that main riff of Open the Door, that what is the note?
Where's your instrument when we need it?
Boom, bo do do, that thing. That first note, bo, is home. That's an F natural, and it hangs there the entire song. But it steps up to a G flat, bo, bo do, and now all of a sudden there's tension, bo, until we go back, do, and it releases. And so that riff, um, moves back and forth between those two notes in the same way that you might move throughout a whole chord progression, which can take you through much more like detailed steps of like tension and release, moving through these different chords that kind of take you up and down in this contour, sort of the way like a plot develops in a movie. How there's a buildup of tension. You'd use this same language when you're talking about the arc of a plot, right? You have the tension, and then the climax, and then the denouement as it drops down, um, and it's that same language of tension and release in music as it is in any other art form. So open the door being one note is just like boiling that down to the core simplest that can possibly be.
Yeah. Before we get into this topic, actually, Wolf, do you have any questions before we go on to the NPC topic?
How long does it usually take to put together one of your full videos?
For the most part, I try to get them done in 2 or 3 days. Um, there are exceptions, and I'm trying to do more of this year with big animated music videos. I've only done really like 2 of them in the past. Uh, Even though it seems like there'd be more, like Kinito Pet, Everlasting Fun. That seems like it was a really, really big project. It was actually only about 3 days. Um, it was 3 long days, but it was really 3 days. And you compare that with something like Code Red, which took us about a month to do between me and uh, another animator, Manaces. We're looking at a similar turnaround on the Ultra Kill music video. But when it comes to my lyric videos, uh, some of those are done in as little as like 4 hours. If it's just text on a screen, that's usually like a 4-hour job. If it's something like, let's see, like Open the Door was about 2 days. Um, and a lot of it comes down to working smart, not hard. Like the way Open the Door is animated, I really only had to animate it once for the most part, in that I saved a lot of time lip syncing. I didn't have to like manually, animate the mouth of everything. I was able to just go like, "Good afternoon, hello, hi, isn't it nice to be human?" And I filmed that just sitting still, and then I pasted that same mouth onto every like face that you see coming through. Now Dahlia was hand drawn, so I did have to animate her by hand. That took forever.
Ouch.
Um, but but you work out tricks like typically with lip syncing, you'll draw like 5 or 6 mouth shapes and then just flip between them, so you're not redrawing literally every frame. And once you get a workflow down, you can scale that out to the rest of the song easily. And I like video ideas where I can do that. So this Ultra Kill music video recently, it's got a lot of good like visual variety, showing different like enemies and stuff on screen, but it's all rendered with the same like I literally just took each model into Blender. I made it turn around. I did this fancy thing where I played it through what's called an oscilloscope, which turns it into like a laser drawing on screen. And then I just arranged those into a music video and put text over it. So it like, you change the colors throughout, you do things to make it feel like it's changing a lot. You make it feel like it's going a lot of places, but really it's, for lack of a better word, it's just the same few things recycled over and over.
Do you do all of the video editing and music work yourself or with other people?
Yeah, with rare exceptions, I'm doing just about everything myself. Um, on the music side, I've done any songs you see released on my channel are 100% me start to finish. Other than like any guest singers you'd hear, but I always do all my own production. Um, all my own, instrumentals and everything. I'm really picky about that stuff, uh, and and I enjoy the process a lot. Uh, the videos, almost all my music videos have been entirely me. I think there was one I farmed out early on, but in terms of like all my big videos, uh, sometimes they'll be storyboarded by another artist. Like the end of No Exit is actually the end of No Exit's storyboarded and partially drawn because we show the storyboard on screen by Mr. Shwu. They also did the storyboard for Code Red, and and then I have an animator who helps me with a lot of stuff. He's one of my moderators, and he shows up in a lot of my gaming streams. Manaces, one of my best friends. He did a lot of additional animation on Code Red and No Exit, and he's helping out on Ultra Kill right now. But in terms of like the overall video concept and the final like assembly and direction, that's all me because I love that whole process too. I love like making something that visually represents what the song is in a really fun way. It's almost this it's this cool thing of like you have the original property, you have, Gaslight District, say. Um, and then you have the song I'm writing about it, which is taking it slightly somewhere else, leaning harder into the gorillas aspect of it. And then I'm making a music video for it that's going to go more from the song than it is from Gaslight District. So it's this cool, like, two steps of separation that gives my music videos, I think, their own distinct look. Even if they all look like wildly different, it's all me taking the stuff somewhere else far away to make it look the way I want it to look and having fun with it.
When it comes to NPC or Core PartyCon, as a artist, how I guess do you approach that, and or how if okay, in better words, if nobody has ever heard of NPC, how as an artist do you feel as well with a fan? I would say, as a fan perspective.
Um, yeah, I mean, I attended NPC last year as, for the most part, a fan. I was on stage briefly with with Rocket Music and Oreo, but for the most part, I was out in the audience just enjoying the show. And this year, I am playing on the main stage. I'm really, really excited about that. So, Nerdcore PartyCon is a just massive celebration of this whole scene. It is there's nothing like it. I mean, there's like little nerdcore showcases at some other cons. I'll be playing at MomoCon this year. There's always some stuff at MagFest too. But this is the only place where like just about everyone's there. I mean, just about every big name in nerdcore you can think of is going to be on that stage one of those 2 nights. And it is just so the feeling I got after being there last year was like it was like a high that took weeks to come down from. It was amazing. Finally meeting all these people in person, who are now my friends. These other artists, meeting my own fans who I'd never ever met a fan in person before. Only at like Magfest a few months before that, and then at NPC. And so to be like one of the first times meeting anybody who had ever heard my music in like the 20 years I've been making music was really amazing. I'm really looking forward to putting together a set for NPC this year. I'm going to be playing like a bunch of my favorite songs. There's going to be some awesome guests joining me on stage, and it's just going to be an absolute blast and an amazing time for everyone, I think.
Definitely. I guess this will tie into the NPC topic. What is your impact when it comes to nerdcore?
Um, I don't know. I think I a lot of the time it feels like I'm over here doing my own weird thing. I'm really, really happy with the tracks I've gotten to collab with people on and produce for other people. Like Absolute for Schwabdi, our Murder Drone song is one of my favorite things I've ever made. I love the beats I've produced for Daddy Fat Snaps too. Um, and yeah, I enjoy like working with people where it lines up. I really enjoy bringing. Here's one thing. I really enjoy taking guests on my songs and taking them somewhere they may not usually be in terms of genre. So like McGuire, I love McGuire's voice so much. The music he makes is like one side of him, but there's this whole other side of like classic funk, like really old school funky pop that I wish he would do more often in his own music. And so I just hire him to do it for me on my songs. So like Order Up and what is it? I'm gonna make it hurt. Our other Digital Circus song together, the Jax song. Those are like two of my favorite things I've heard McGuire do because I wrote them specifically to do the things I like hearing McGuire do. And then having Breton Boy on like a heavy drum and bass track, which is like I love hearing his voice in that context. And I love the music he makes on his own. It's why I wanted to work with him. Seeing him perform at NPC last year was like blew my mind. And so then writing that to have him on was uh, was really fun. So I enjoy doing that. I enjoy taking these artists and maybe giving them a new context that they wouldn't normally go for, and having fun with it.
So, what did you do before music, if anything?
Yeah, I can tell you really early on, I connected with video game music. Like I was literally like on the sound test screen of Sonic the Hedgehog, just playing the boss music over and over again when I was like 2 years old. But early on, I thought I wanted to be, like I said, a game developer, a computer programmer, something something to do with computers. I've always been a giant nerd, you know, and uh, and so up until I was 12, I was like really deep into game development. I was working with like, we didn't have Unity or Unreal Engine yet, but at the time it was like Game Maker Studio, which is still around now. Um, I was learning BASIC and a whole bunch of other programming languages. And then I picked up a guitar when I was 12, and that all went out the window for a while. Now I'm back into it. Now I do like a ton of programming stuff that factors in a lot with what I'm doing with Blender in my 3D animation stuff. In After Effects, there's a ton of scripting you can do to like, really control your animations and do stuff programmatically in a way that I really enjoy. And I've even dabbled with like some game development stuff. Like I've played around with that. I did a game jam a couple years ago. We did the GMTK game jam. Um, and I did a lot of Friday Night Funk and modding. So that's all still very much in here, and uh, I'll probably make a game at some point. I can't imagine I'm not going to. Um, so yeah, that was that, but it was all leading towards something creative, something I always wanted to make just a whole experience of something, and I think like building a game was one way to approach that. I think YouTube videos are another way to approach that. YouTube didn't exist until I was like 16 years old. So to or no, I guess it would be 14 because they just celebrated 20 years. Yeah. So until I was 14 years old, YouTube literally didn't exist. There was nowhere to put the things you made. I mean, Newgrounds, kind of, but it could handle flash animations, but not like full videos. So there wasn't a way to construct the kind of experience I had in my mind outside of creating a game. So that's what I thought I wanted to do. And then I stumbled into YouTube, and here we are. But yeah, I just like the idea of making a whole experience for someone to enjoy.
And I think you actually tied the last question in here to that, honestly. Did you uh, do you do music full time?
Yes, yeah, I quit my job 4 years ago. I think we're coming up on 4 years ago. Oh my god. Yeah. In the peak of the Friday Night Funkin' days, I I had been working at a music store and teaching guitar, bass, drums, and piano for about 12 years at that point. Um, and I liked it there. It was great. Um, but YouTube was taking off. It'd always been something in the back of my mind that I wanted to do. YouTube really started blowing up, and there was a good like 6 months in a row where I was making more on YouTube working like 5 hours a week than I was at my full-time job working like 60 hours a week. And when that was like 6 months in a row of it being that stable, I was like, all right, I gotta give this a shot. Um, it was a situation where like my boss was cool. If it really tanked and didn't work out, I could probably always go back there in some capacity, and I'm very thankful for that. But yeah, I just went for it. I went really hard on YouTube for like 2 years straight, doing weekly Friday Night Funkin' covers. I made some like, you know, 100 of those. And then Friday Night Funkin' started dying down just as I was getting really sick of it anyway. I saw nerdcore happening over here. I had seen music from like DA Games, Stupendium, CG5, Oreo, and uh, I was like, I mean, this is gonna sound so like terrible, but I was looking at them, I was like, damn, they're getting a lot more views than I am in Friday Night Funkin', and I hate Friday Night Funkin', and I like writing songs. I'm gonna go write nerdcore songs and get some more views, and here we are. I'm like, I'm never, I've never for 1 second like gotten sick of writing nerdcore songs, and we're almost 3 years deep into that. Because I can go anywhere with it. I can do a Gorillaz track. I can do a metal EDM song, Um, and so it's just been like endlessly satisfying, and I love it. Yeah, but yes, I am full time with music.
I don't know if you have any questions for us while we're here, but
No, this was great.
yeah. Um, so yeah, I guess that will do it for this podcast episode. It's a bit of a shorter one than usual, but oh well. Hopefully we can get you later on in the future, maybe.
Yeah,
Um, it all depends on what your schedule looks like and if you do want to appear on another episode of it for us.
sure.
So yeah. Uh, I guess with that being said, I will see you guys in the next podcast episode.
Sounds good. Bye bye.
See my name on the list?
Right.
Everything checks out?
Let me inside.
Wait, we're good? Really?
Finally!